Somehow, Kamen Rider Geo returned. Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. Welcome to my review for number 1 Sentai Gozyuger episode 1. That tripped me up because I said number 1. I'm like, wait, did I already say episode 1? I was saying number 1 so many times just now. So if you're wondering why I'm reviewing this before the Boom Boonjer finale, I'm sorry about the timing, but that review should be out tomorrow, hopefully. But remember, time doesn't progress in a strictly linear sense. It's more of a ball of weebly-wobbly, timey-wiminess. I was so excited for this, not to mention it's a little bit more relevant and exciting to the community right now. I wanted to get this review out first, but rest assured, the Boom Boonjer finale should come out tomorrow, and hopefully I'm aiming for this weekend for the series review. It might be early next week just because my Gozyuger toys should be arriving, and those will take priority. But let's dive into this episode because my notes start with WTF, 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 which we all know stands for What the Fies. Suck it, Fies fans. That makes it seem like I hate Fies fans, but that's just an old RR podcast joke, and I'm happy for any of those of you that get that. So this episode was balls nuts. Like, seriously, of all the years I've watched Sentai, since Geki Ranger 2007, plus all the other Sentai I've backlogged, I can say this is without a doubt the craziest Sentai pilot I've seen. Now, we've done anniversary seasons for Sentai and Rider, but this is definitely the craziest one. And if you didn't know, I'm trying to turn over a new leaf with this series and be more accepting of the crazy crossoverness and just have fun with it. And I think that really helped with this episode because it was crazy, but I was kind of here for it. So we start with kind of what feels like an alternate opening for what episode 0 was for the Origins. Almost not contradicting it, but this one felt better, like it looked better, because you had like the physical mecha there, you have the mecha graveyard, which is just a cool visual, but it effectively conveys what happened before with this giant threat and the other mecha kind of giving the power to Tenga's sword, but it's just conveyed a little differently, and the threat looks more like a giant demon thing than a bunch of generic robots from like a royalty-free Terminator series. Both do give a little bit of information that kind of complement each other. Like this one talks about the end of the worlds, and the other one talked about the start of a new history, which might play into some things I'll talk about at the end. But it's just interesting because I'm like, why even do episode 0 at all if you basically are going to do this here? And it was kind of better. And then we start in this shop. We're introduced to Goju Red, whose name is Horu. I'm probably going to have a hard time getting used to the names, but I'm pretty sure it's Horu. Horu for Shoru. So we have him, and then guess who's working there? It's Zenkaiger Black 2, The Streets, Taya with glasses, who for a split second I'm like, wait, is that Taya? If I say is it Taya, does it seem like I'm racist? Like, no, that's Taya, because I saw like the spoilers on Twitter. This was spoiled for me on Twitter before, and it's not spoiled really because if you go on Twitter and you know there's going to be spoilers, it's your own fault. I hate when people complain about that. People can post whatever they want on their own Twitter accounts. It's your own fault if you can't control yourself. Sorry, mini rant. But anyway, what the hell? Like this whole beginning sequence and immediately is like, okay, Taya's there, this is crazy. But the whole sequence is very strange because then you have these people trying to rob them and they're wearing masks, which seems like, you know, we obviously see masks nowadays because of COVID stuff. But it seems like it's for the robbing, but then they immediately take it off to eat hot dogs and like trying to steal the hot dogs, and Goju Wolf like stops it. And there's just a weird rhythm to it. Like, he's kind of a more cool character. He's much more of a stoic, cool, ace-like character, but he definitely has some quirks in there. And I'm not talking about superpowers. Like, he bites them like a wolf later in the episode, he, like, howls. So it's an interesting mix, but just something about this scene, and honestly, a lot of the scenes, like, later when he meets up with these guys later and they beat him up in slow motion, they're like, we're gonna pay you back for getting us. It's just got a really weird rhythm, even to the fight scenes. Like, something about the humor and the pacing, whether it's the fight scenes or just a scene like this, has a very strange rhythm. Like, what is brunch? Can't believe I made a Justice League 2017 reference. You set up Taya very much as not Taya, and I don't think it's as stark as feeling of a contrast as Tony Stark and Noob, no, but I don't think it's as stark of a contrast as Zenkaiger was, just because we spent a whole series with Zenkaiger being, or Zenkaiser, sorry, I always mix those up because it's like one letter away, but Zenkaiser being your classic Toku protagonist, and then to be a stoic protagonist. But I gotta say, he does a good job of playing kind of a more wimpy character that quite honestly feels like he would be at home at the Alchemy Academy on Gotchard, and then playing the more cool Taya. I really like that idea. I really like seeing the range of these Sentai actors. If we keep this idea up, and we see a bunch of other variants of Toku characters, I think that'd be kind of interesting. I'm gonna talk about that more at the end, but yeah. So he's a part-timer, he's having a hard time holding down a job, he meets up with Taya again, and he pays for his hot dog or whatever meal he had, and he owes him 250 yen, and that's like a major plot point throughout the episode, which is kind of funny. But then you have the villains attacking. They come out and attack, they come from this, it's seeming like an underground different dimension from ours, that's like right next to the graveyard, and he's attacking with a mecha, and then Oh my god, like I know this was spoiled for me, but I did not expect it to happen this way, where then not Taya, I don't remember what his name is in the show. I don't know if he's going to be a reoccurring character or not, like Zenkaiger Black, but I'll maybe learn his name eventually. Probably not. But I'm going to call him not Taya for now. He busts out the Silver Tegasword. People have made the comparison to the Deadpool and Wolverine scene where Chris Evans is like, oh, he's going to say Avengers Assemble, and then he says Flame On. That was this moment. He pulls out a King Odra ring and transforms into freaking Kuwagata Odra. What the beep? I could not believe this. Like, even just watching it in the episode, like, I knew it was going to happen from Twitter, but I assumed that in the episode he was somehow going to be given or found the ring. He already had it, so he's, like, already involved, and I'm like, how did you get involved in this? Like, who are you? How did you get involved? I just answered my phone. Cellular? Anyone? Chris Evans again? That's a Chris Evans callback again? Cellular, underrated movie. That was nuts, and also the fight scene was great. And I might mention this again later, but the fight scenes in this were great again. They weren't as elegantly cinematic as Boom Boomger, but they certainly were epic, and I hope they continue that trend, because then I think it would be 3 years in a row of having great Sentai fight scenes. And then Horu falls into this like portal where he ends up in that villain base area. I don't know if this is meant to be a different dimension or like the underground of underneath it, because when the villain arrives, he says like, oh, is this the world that created us? So I just wonder if like the villain in this world is connected by the events of the prologue. I don't know. But he sees a bunch of henchmen trying to get the ring and they can't put the ring on, but then he gets the ring and makes the contract about like your number one wish, and he's like, I don't have a wish. I don't have dreams. I wish I was dead. I'm like, why are you reciting my inner monologue? Get out of my head. And we do flash back to him in this world, which seemingly feels like a futuristic, different world than ours, where his mother or whoever this mentor person was to him is like the anti-Toku mentor. Usually they're all about like inspirational speeches, and she's like, bury your emotions. What are you, a Jedi? Bury your dreams. Protect frowns, not smiles. She's like the anti-Toku mentor, and which is why he's so hopeless, seemingly. But his dream currently is only to pay back Kuwagata Odra Taya for the 250 yen. And so he goes back, and then we do things crazy, because he shows up, he does the mecha battle first in a civilian outfit. That's against the law. This isn't Europe. We have rules here. But that was so cool and unexpected. Like, you get this cockpit mode civilian suit, kind of like we got cockpit modes for Power Rangers, but it's a civilian outfit, which reminds me of something. I'm not sure what it is, but that was super cool. They even have the Tegasword toy in there. Kind of a smart way to sell the toys, to be honest. And the mecha fight is so crazy because there's a mix of these, like, really weird boxing ring things and these strange effects, but it's also super hype and epic, and it was really great, and it was just so crazy to see him in the mecha fight first, and then you do the suit debut fight, which feels like, not an afterthought, but it feels like, oh, we gotta sneak the suit in there, so he just fights henchmen. But he gets on the ground, we get our first henshin transformation sequence and fight scene. And again, the fights are very different from Boom Boonger's choreography, but still very epic feeling, very video game feeling. I hope they keep that up. With Boom Boonger in the first episode, I was like, I hope they keep that up, but they probably won't. But they did keep it up, so I hope that that really happens. But it was pretty awesome. I really liked the fight. And I gotta say, too, I'm so excited to get my Tegasword because I'm really loving the changer sounds. Like, even though the voice is very Gokaiger coded, I'm getting used to it, and I really love the music. And the fact that it has little bits of sounds of the Legacy Sentai, like when it said, Kuwagata Oja! I'm like, I'm a sucker for that. But yeah, really great debut fight there for him. And then, like, near the end of the episode, it seems like he, like, awakens the other Rangers. Like, they all just stare at their rings, and a couple of them have a few lines of dialogue that give you maybe a little indicator into their motives or whatever. Initially, I thought it was, like, them literally getting their rings at that moment, like it awakened them. Kind of like, oddly enough, in this week's Red Ranger Adventure episode, they talk about how when somebody needs them, they're teleported to them instantly, and it reminded me of that. Those reviews are coming, by the way. It just might be super late. Anyway. But it seems like based on the preview that they already are in the game, which I think is really interesting because I assumed we would get traditional pilot stuff where the Rangers are involved and then more people would gradually be involved. I think we'll probably see some characters over the course of the series come in cold and get a ring and become a Legacy Sentai or whatever. But this seems like this game or whatever is already going on and the other core 4 Rangers are involved already. You have people like Taya, presumably others are already involved. Super interesting. So yeah, this was a crazy episode. Like, usually me, who was very cynical about these Toku crossovers, would be throwing a BF, he's gonna have a bitch fit, you better get out of here! But I was kind of here for it. It definitely was a mess. I think a lot of it is intentional because you're supposed to be asking a lot of questions, and I'm really intrigued by so many things. I'm trying to go in with like the opposite mindset I went into with Geo, where Geo honestly did so many cool things. Like, I did a rewatch, I still need to finish it of that, kind of going in with an open mind, and I still have some problems with it. But I had to admit, like, that series went kind of all out for the anniversary stuff, and this is kind of what this feels like in a way. But with Geo, I would get angry too quick or confused too quick and angry that I was confused too quick. And with this, like, I think that we probably won't get perfect answers for everything, but I think there's a lot of stuff we're just supposed to meant to be wondering and theorizing about. And, you know, as mixed of an experience as Kamen Rider Geo was for me, there was a lot to talk about this year. As much as I enjoyed Boom Boonger, unless you were getting a hitting arc, it was like, well, this episode was kind of fun, they played baseball or whatever. But this is going to be a fun series to cover potentially because there's going to be a lot to talk and theorize about. Already with this, I'm just like so interested in what's going on. Like, it was a mess for that. I wish it was a little bit less of a mess as a pilot because I think some of the messier elements you're supposed to be questioning, but just in terms of introducing the core elements, I hated how jumbled it was, and I don't know how I feel about the tone in terms of, like I said, the rhythm of like the jokes and just the choreography and everything was very strange. And I'll see how that plays out over the course of this. And it's interesting that this reminded me of so many anniversaries. Obviously, this kind of remix thing with variants of existing characters reminds me of Geo because in that series you had returning legacy characters, but they were still themselves, just without their memories. But also having the lead of the previous series there reminded me of Geo because Build and Oz were in the first or the second episode. They were there pretty much immediately. Watcheru was there at the beginning of Decade. I don't think the Gosagers were there at the beginning of Gokaiger, and I don't think Kara Majors were there at Zenkaiger. Oddly enough, this reminds me of more Rider stuff, but it's very interesting. My theory is whatever happened in the beginning battle created this new kind of battle world thing. It's not really a battle world, but you know what I mean. It kind of condensed all the Earths into this one Earth, and I'm guessing that all the Sentais are just weird variants of themselves. It's funny because with Geo, the returning cameos weren't as exciting because they ran it into the ground, but also because they weren't really playing who they were, so it wasn't exciting seeing them. But this kind of excites me because there's a mystery element to it, and I'll be curious to see how it plays out. Like, there's a chance we'll have just random new characters become the previous Sentai, but I'm kind of hoping it's all Sentai variants. I think that would be so interesting. Like, I'm really happy with how much this episode threw me for a loop and how unexpected it was. Like, I thought I knew how it was going to go in a lot of ways, but like the Taya thing in particular is one of like the top 10 Sentai jaw drop moments. So yeah, it was kind of a mess, but new trying to be more optimistic Dawson is here for it. I'm really excited to see how this unfolds and get my Gozyuger toys. But let me know what you thought of the episode in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell to get notifications for more videos like this and more. Dawson Rider, signing out.